The Dallas Cowboys pregame show, live from the Star in Frisco, is brought to you by AT&T. Academy, the official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Mid-40s and cloudy on the Ohio River in Cincinnati, Ohio, as Paul Brown Stadium plays host to the 3-9 Dallas Cowboys as they aim to right the ship against a struggling Cincinnati Bengals squad. Welcome in to Cowboys pregame live, coast to coast and around the world, streaming live from the Star here in Frisco, Texas. I'm Kyle Yeomans alongside Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback. We've got Nate Newton and Danny Surratt coming up a little bit later on in the show. But guys, we've made it to Week 14 of the NFL season. It's been a sprint. It's been maybe a marathon, probably better way to describe it whenever it comes to getting to Week 14 of the NFL season. Well, they've certainly done that, but it looks a lot different than we anticipated this matchup to look like. We anticipated it to be Joe Burrow, first overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, going up against Dak Prescott for the first time. Well, that hasn't necessarily turned out that way, but either way, this is still a chance for the Cowboys to try and get back on track here.
This is a great chance for them to get back on track. And you know what, fellas? I'm going to be honest, man. For the first time in a long time, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the Dallas Cowboys. You know, I like how we match up offensively, defensively. And you know what, Isaiah? We might just walk out of here with a W.
With a dub?
With a dub.
With a dub. Okay, so I know my guy Kyle said that this is a marathon and we're running to the finish. I feel like we've limped here, right? Mm-hmm. But even with the limp, right, I feel pretty good about our chances today going into this game. I know that both teams have been struggling. Both organizations have struggled this year. There's been a lot of stress with the COVID and with the teams and performance and injuries. But guess what? It's a new day. It's a brand new Sunday. Both teams have opportunity to go out there and show who they are. Let's see what the Cowboys are about today.
And the Cowboys not alone whenever it comes to the limping. Cincinnati has a lot of that same issue. No Joe Mixon, no Joe Burrow today, but they have to lean on Giovanni Bernard. And this is a Cowboys defense that, of course, last week against Baltimore gave up 294 yards on the ground. That's more than Giovanni Bernard has all season. However, a veteran back, he's been in the league for 8 seasons. And Cincinnati, when they give him 15 or more carries, 11, 1, and 1. Do you expect a high level of productivity from Bernard today against this Cowboys rush defense?
Look, there's a plethora of things wrong that we have with this Dallas Cowboys defense, mainly the run. We haven't been able to stop the run at all this year. And look, as bad as we are at stopping the run, the Cincinnati Bengals are just as bad at rushing the football. They're 26th in the league in rushing attempts, 30th in the league in rushing yards. And what hurt us last week was the creativity of that Baltimore Ravens offense. They were able to do pulling guards, ghost motions, their counter schemes, all that confused our linebackers and it confused our defense overall. But the Cincinnati Bengals, they lack that creativity. So I see our front seven locking in on that and being able to stop their run game today. Now, not to mention that the Cincinnati Bengals, they lost their offensive tackle, probably their best offensive lineman in Jonah Williams with a knee injury. He's on IR. So at the very worst, I expect at least a better display than we saw last week in Baltimore.
Yeah, no, this is the area that we've struggled in all year. There's no secret there. But I don't want to say that any team is not prepared to have a good game against the Cowboys defense right now. But Giovanni Bernard is more than capable, as you already mentioned, Kyle. This is something we have to show up and we got to play. We have our front seven guys. They need to change who they are. They need to change what they put on tape to date, and they have an opportunity to do that today against the Cincinnati Bengals team that's struggling.
Well, it's a Cincinnati team that likes to throw the football quite a bit as well. 4th in the league in terms of highest pass percentage throughout the year. They throw it 75% of the time. So whenever there's no Joe Mixon, they tend to use the arm of Brandon Allen, and that's exactly what they're doing today. But it's also because of the wide receivers that they have to work with, and 2 guys that we know very well around the NFL and have really started to earn a little bit of respect. Tyler Boyd off to a fantastic start this season, had the 72-yard touchdown last week against Miami. A.J. Green, one of the better veteran receivers in the league. What do you guys think about these 2 guys, and how big of a game could they have against this Cowboys secondary?
Well, the thing about the receiver position is it's a dependent position. They're dependent on someone to get them the ball to do damage and have success out there. And right now, I think the Cincinnati Bengals are down to their backup quarterback, Brandon Allen, who doesn't have a lot of experience out there. So if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going out there, I'm trying to disguise my coverages, I'm trying to take away their first progression and hopefully get this guy to throw us some interceptions. And if we're able to do that, I think we can slow down this passing attack.
Yeah, there's a movie that I like to watch, and one of the parts of the movie said it's going to be trouble, and I think Tyler Boyd and A.J. Green present that problem for our secondary. Our secondary has struggled to communicate. They struggle to play man coverage, and I think we're going to need to play man coverage in this game. The reason being because we can't play too high. If we sit too high safeties all day long, we're going to struggle against this running game. And as soon as we go single high, we need to be able to stop Tyler Boyd, number one, and then let's not forget about the sleeping giant in A.J. Green. Let's not let him remember who he is.
That's huge. If the Cowboys secondary, as thin as they are, can stop those guys, you're going to feel pretty good. How many of those guys in the secondary are inactive, and is Ezekiel Elliott ready to play? Who's in, who's out right after this? Just getting started here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Let's go out to Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio, and check in with Nick Eatman for the first time today. Nick.
Thank you, Kyle. And yes, we're here at Paul Brown Stadium. First time the Cowboys have been here since 2012. And if memory serves, it looked about like this that time around. A cold and overcast, dreary day. The Cowboys did get a victory and certainly hoping to do the same here in Cincinnati. Now, Andy Dalton started that game 8 years ago for the Bengals. He starts today for the Cowboys, and a lot of handshakes and hugs on the field with some former teammates, players, security guards, you name it. They all remember and love Andy Dalton. Maybe not hoping that he has a big success today, but a lot of mutual respect from both sides. Now, there was some talk about who was going to be giving the ball to Andy Dalton at center for the Cowboys. Joe Looney has started the last few games. Tyler Biadasz is now off of injured reserve. He had a hamstring injury before the Pittsburgh game. He's been practicing this week. There was some talk he might start. It sounds like Joe Looney, though, will still get the start. But watch out for Biadasz. He may either get a chance to play him in this game. Of course, the rookie from Wisconsin, they want to see him down the stretch, and he is a player that they want to see, obviously, for the future. Some other young guys you might see today, some draft picks. Reggie Robinson at cornerback. Cowboys have a mess at cornerback, and we don't have enough time to talk about all the stuff going on there. You'll see some different faces there. Robinson might get some work in the secondary, maybe at safety or at corner. And also look for Rondell Carter, a defensive end that they had. He left to the Colts. They brought him back. He's back now on the team. Rondell Carter might make an appearance today for the Cowboys. All right, Kyle, back to you.
Thank you very much, Nick. Back here with Nate Newton on the guitar pick off to the side. And Nate, whenever it comes to the offensive line, we're talking about all these young guys on both sides of the football, but Tyler Biadasz, back off of IR, has an opportunity to play today, but he won't get the start. Joe Looney looks like he is going to start. Do you agree with that decision from the coaching staff?
No. Biadasz is your future. He will be your starting center next year. If he's healthy enough to play, put him on the field, give him all the snaps. Get this continuity started with your young guys. Get going forward with Tyler Biadasz. That would be the best move for me, my opinion.
What does he bring as a rookie that maybe Joe Looney doesn't bring? Is it just the future aspects of having a rookie from Wisconsin, trying to figure that out at center?
I think he's a little bit stouter. I know his bottom end is a little bit heavier, so that means he can set strong on bigger guys. I think he get up to the second level a little bit better, whereas Looney may have the experience as a veteran and the savvy. I think we need to get this experience for these young players so he can start out next year fresh with the big guys.
Biadasz available but not starting today. Cowboys in the secondary, like Nick talked about, maybe an opportunity to see Reggie Robinson again because Chido Awuzie on the COVID-19 list this week. He's not available in this one. What do you think about this secondary and just how thin they are?
Oh, they're very thin, Kyle. As every week it's a toss-up, like Pop-Tart, somebody popping up new in the secondary. But I tell you what, go with these young guys. Every opportunity you have, veteran guys out, go with a young guy. Right now these Cowboys are on pace to set a record high in points given up, yards given out, rush yards. You know what? These rookies cannot do any worse.
They've given up 20 points in 12 straight games. That's one short of the franchise record of total games in a season where the Cowboys defense has allowed 20 points or more. Let's look at the inactive list whenever it comes to some of the other guys that are not going to be on the field today. One of the big names on there, Anthony Brown. We talked about the secondary. Donovan Wilson inactive for the second straight week as well. But I know you stuck out and said Bradley Anae. This is a young guy that you want to see more of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they got the guys that are ahead of him, Gregory and D-Law. Those are some Bulldogs. Alden Smith, those are some Bulldogs. But I know he can do special teams or something. Let's see the value of these young guys, Going into Cincinnati, we should be able to dominate them. And I feel that in my heart. Like these guys said earlier, this is a victory today.
It could be for the Cowboys.
No, it is.
Certainly looks like something like that whenever you want to see a 2-9-1 team in Cincinnati against a 3-9 Cowboys team. Another guy not on that inactive list, Ezekiel Elliott, as the running back is active and ready to play, dealing with a bit of a calf injury this week, but he will be available. Also available today, Andy Dalton as he makes his return to Cincinnati. Spent 10 seasons with the Bengals. We'll hear about his return when we return here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Continuing on here on Cowboys Pregame Live, and there are only a couple of quarterbacks throughout the history of the NFL that have faced their former teams in which they've had 200-plus career touchdown passes while playing for that team. Andy Dalton does that today, and, well, teams are 4-1 whenever their quarterback faces an opponent like that. Let's go out to Rob Phillips and hear what he has to say on Andy Dalton's return to Cincinnati.
Texas has always been home for Andy Dalton, and now the Dallas Cowboys are his home too. But for 9 years, Dalton made his NFL residence in Cincinnati. Sunday, the Cowboys face the Bengals franchise that drafted Dalton in the second round back in 2011. The franchise where he ranks first in career touchdown passes. Here in Dallas, the chances of a playoff berth are slipping this December. But Dalton has been a bright spot, filling in for injured captain Dak Prescott the last few weeks. He had a season-high 285 passing yards in Tuesday's loss to the Ravens, along with 2 touchdown passes. The offense managed only 17 points and missed 3 field goals. But the passing game seems to be in better rhythm since Dalton returned from a challenging stretch. First a concussion, then a bout with COVID-19 in mid-November. From 2011 through 2019, Dalton made 3 Pro Bowls with the Bengals and led them to 5 playoff trips. Last spring, Cincinnati began a rebuild around top overall draft pick Joe Burrow. Dalton was granted his release, went back to his home state of Texas, and signed a 1-year deal with the Cowboys. He probably never imagined he'd play this much. Prescott had never missed an entire series, much less an entire game, prior to this year. But Dak's season-ending ankle injury has put Dalton back in the role he had in Cincinnati all those years, leading an NFL huddle. One key for Andy Dalton and the Cowboys to get back on track, explosive plays. They only had 1 pass play over 20 yards against the Ravens this past Tuesday, and it came late in the game against Baltimore. That will be key against a Bengals defense that has kept their last 3 opponents under 20 points. For DallasCowboys.com, I'm Rob Phillips.
Thank you very much, Rob. The first player to face a team as their franchise leader in touchdown passes since 2013, the guy who last did it, Peyton Manning. So Andy Dalton with a bit of history today as he goes up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Here you look at some of the numbers that he's put up this season. Now, a lot of those numbers coming since he came back. 67% passing, over 235 yards on average a game, and then 6 touchdowns since he returned from the concussion and the stint on the COVID-19 list. But Nate, as you look at Andy Dalton and what he brings to the table today, what kind of pressure is he under when he goes up against his former team?
I don't think he's under any pressure. I really don't, because I think he's ready for this situation. He's got a lot of games behind him. He's going to be comfortable going back home. How quick can he get into a rhythm? That's going to be the key for him to be successful.
He's going back to the crib. You know what I'm saying? He's going back to the crib, so there's no pressure there. And aside from that, this is personal, right? And this is personal. When you go into those personal games, the only thing that you have to be aware of and the thing that you have to manage is your emotions. Right, he's going to have to manage his emotions. He's going to have to manage the highs and the lows. He's going to want to go out there and just give these guys the business, right? But he's going to have to still be able to control himself, control this team, and operate efficiently. I think he's going to be focused and determined to go out there and get this win against his old team.
And Rob talked about it a minute ago about the offensive rebuild for Cincinnati. It's been a rebuild on the defensive side of the football as well. And they've got some young guys like a Logan Wilson, linebacker out of Wyoming, that's in the middle of the defense. In the secondary, Jesse Bates. But how do you feel about this Cowboys offense and who could step up against this Cincinnati D?
I know CD for me. I'm going with CD. I think CD Lamb's going to have a heck of a game. I think that he's going to be I think that Cincinnati's going to try to bring a lot of pressure to not allow Andy Dalton to really go off in his return back to Ohio. So I think that CD Lamb's going to be a great resource for him, and I think they're starting to build some chemistry as we saw last game.
I'm thinking that Tony Pollard, I think he's going to have a big game. Zeke's a little banged up, so he'll get a few more opportunities. And I want him to do it in a special way, and that's throwing it out of the backfield to him.
I think Tony Pollard, I think Ezekiel Elliott could have some success against a defense that hasn't necessarily stopped the run, much like the Cowboys. They're also bottom 4 in the NFL in stopping the run this season, and the Bengals are going to have a tough time going against that attack of Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. When we come back here on Cowboys Pregame Live, we're going to look at the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, Jalen Smith, right after this when we return. In a crazy year like 2020, it's always nice to recognize those making a difference off the field. The Dallas Cowboys did that this week by naming a nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. That nominee is Jalen Smith, and we go to Danny Sarek, who has more on that.
Linebacker Jalen Smith understands there's more to life than just football, which is why he helped launch the Minority Entrepreneurship Institute to help close the educational and economic gap in minority communities. Those efforts contributed to Smith's nomination for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Every team nominates a player for their outstanding community service off the field, as well as their excellence on it. Smith says he's thankful to be this year's Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for the Cowboys.
Definitely an honor. When you talk about being a Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee and recognition, it's definitely an honor. For me, I have a purpose beyond athletics, and that's helping people. That's helping people get understanding and education. And I've started the Minority Entrepreneurship Institute in efforts to close the economic and educational gap that exists in this world today. It's really trying to provide, a solution to how can we truly become equal, and that's not only financial funding, but helping entrepreneurs that have great ideas to be able to get the correct infrastructure.
Smith has pledged $2.5 million over the next 10 years to grow MEI's investments and hope that minority entrepreneurs will become game changers in their communities. All 32 nominees receive a $40,000 donation in their name to their charity of choice, and the winner will receive an additional $250,000.
For myself, I was just thinking about, okay, well, how can I provide this for other people that look like me that don't necessarily have the platform and etc. And that's why I was able to start MEI. It's a blessing. It's about helping.
Smith and the rest of the nominees will wear a special decal on their helmets for the rest of the season. Through January 17th, fans can vote on Twitter using the hashtag WPMOY challenge, followed by the nominee's last name. The top 3 tweeted nominees will receive an additional contribution to go towards their charity. The Walter Payton Man of the Year award will be given out at the NFL Honors February during Super Bowl weekend. If Smith wins the award, he'll join an elite list of former Cowboys who have done so. Hall of Fame quarterbacks Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman, and former tight end Jason Witten. Kyle.
Thank you very much, Danny, and it certainly is a huge honor to be mentioned with some of those names that she just mentioned, like a Jason Witten and even Walter Payton, who has his name on the award itself. But Jalen Smith's always been very active outside in the community surrounding his play on the field. Sure, there's questions there, and there's a lot of people that'll question how he is on the field, but off the field, there's really no question on what kind of character he is.
No question at all. I mean, this is an amazing accomplishment for Jalen Smith. I mean, just to be nominated for such a prestigious award is an accomplishment in its own. I mean, you're, like you said, you're in the breaths of, the Jason Wittens of the world, the Roger Staubachs of the world. So that's an accomplishment in his own, and he should be extremely proud of himself.
Yeah, I mean, his character off the field is the reason why, you hear Mr. Jones talk about he's the cornerstone of this team. You want high character guys, and, in terms of him having a legacy, that goes far beyond your time on the field. So hats off to you.
And when we come back here on Cowboys Pregame Live, we'll continue to tie a bow on this one and get you ready for Cincinnati and Dallas from Paul Brown Stadium after this.
The Dallas Cowboys pregame show, live from the Star in Frisco, was brought to you by AT&T. SWBC Mortgage, solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit swbc.com. And by the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. Want to tour AT&T Stadium? For more information, call 817-892-TOUR or visit dallascowboys.com/tours.
It's the first meeting since 2012 between the Cowboys and the Bengals in Cincinnati. Paul Brown Stadium playing host to these two teams today. The Cincinnati Bengals at 2-9-1 currently hold on to the number 3 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. The Cowboys at 3-9. Should they lose today, they would move in to that number 3 overall slot. But Dallas has won 4 of the last 5 meetings between these two teams. They'll look to make it 5 of the last 6 between these two squads as the Cowboys do travel up. Andy Dalton making his return to Cincinnati, and there's plenty more to talk about whenever it comes to these two teams. So join us on the internet side of things at DallasCowboys.com. But that'll do it for us here on the TV side. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Enjoy the game, everybody. It's the Bengals and the Cowboys later this afternoon. And just like that, the magic of television, we're back on your screens on the internet side of things. I had to fill a little bit by myself. I needed you guys up here for the last segment. But whenever it comes to the 13th all-time meeting between the Cowboys and the Bengals, we're still breaking it down here on DallasCowboys.com. Thanks for sticking with us. Kyle Yeomans, Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and 6-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton on the edge. There's a lot of questions around both of these teams in 2020, but there's a lot moving forward as well. Of course, Joe Burrow, really the new future in Cincinnati, and the Cowboys have a lot of questions when it comes to the secondary, comes to the quarterback position. So I ask you guys, who is better set up for the future in this game in terms of coaching staffs and everything that you have moving forward?
Well, if we're talking right now, right in this specific moment, I'm going to have to go Cincinnati. I'm going to say right now in this specific moment, Cincinnati, they have a lot going forward. They have their quarterback for the next couple years signed up, and their defense is not in shambles like ours is right now. So going forward, I'm going to have to say Cincinnati the future looks kind of bright.
Audacity. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Dallas Cowboys. I think as long as we go ahead and retrieve and secure Dak, so I think we're in a good position. We have good running backs. We have great receivers. Our offense is pretty much set. We have a consistent offensive coordinator. Now it's just a matter of trying to figure out the defense, and I think that's a combination of personnel and coaching.
You looking in the long distance future. I love you for it. I tell you what, Cincinnati Bengals without a doubt are set up better at this time and at this moment. I mean, they got a better defense that plays well together. They got a nice little secondary piece in Bates. They got Gio Bernard at the running back, guy that can kill us coming out of the backfield. They got a decent tight end. Their O-line is set. Right now, today, Cincinnati, bro.
I guess I'm just going to be the Lone Ranger. Lone Ranger?
No, I'm with you on this. I think the Cowboys are set up better for the future.
Pity is a great thing around here.
Nobody wants to hear that you don't have a future. When the Cowboys, I think, definitely have one whenever you get guys back and healthy moving forward. But let's go out and hear from Mike McCarthy and hear what he had to say on what has really been a frustrating 2020.
Really, from my view, you're always evaluating. You're evaluating assistants. You're evaluating players. You're evaluating your support staff. Frankly, you have to have a check and balance in place to evaluate myself as a head coach. I mean, it's when you put together a practice plan in each week, and particularly in this climate that we're in, with the changes that come unexpectedly, am I giving the team the best path of preparation leading into the performance? So to me, the way I've always done it is you're always evaluating. And I think with evaluation processes, you develop filters, filters that determine what direction you feel like you need to go. And my filter has always been for a large amount of my head coaching career is, do I need to change something? Do I need to adjust it, or do I need to just continue to emphasize it? So that's always been my approach. I mean, there's obviously an in-season evaluation process, and there's a postseason, and that's the way I'll continue to do it.
Has the way this season gone with the results shaken any confidence in what you believe or how you go about it?
Oh, no doubt. No, to answer your question, but there's no doubt that you have to continue to look everything and be honest about it. And it goes back to, the preparation of the football team. I think, how did you set your schematic schedule in the limited time that we had? Just the anticipation of the changes. Frankly, I don't think any of us anticipated, the amount of it. Are we handling it properly? Did we adjust in midstream as good as we can? So I think, like anything, times like this confirm, what I believe in. I do believe that we will be much better from this experience. I mean, all this adversity is happening for a reason, and from adversity and negative experiences, obviously you have a great opportunity to learn and increase your instincts and your awareness. And I feel that our program and our team will be better for this moving forward, and it can't happen quick enough.
There's going to be multiple opportunities here over the last 4 weeks of the regular season to learn from the challenges, and Mike McCarthy's staff has already had plenty of those challenges here this season. But what do you want to see from the staff moving into the final month of the year?
This final month, these final 4 games, I would like to see this staff do a better job of making decisions out there. I mean, there's so many head-scratching decisions that we've seen this season, from the fake reverse pass punt that was supposed to be to when we were 4th and inches, we decided to throw a comeback to CeeDee Lamb instead of using our $90 million running back there. So there's a lot of head-scratching decisions that were being made, but overall, I just got to see better decision-making from this coaching staff.
Yeah, I agree with you, BC. I'm going to double down on that. But I'm also going to bring up the fact that I feel like they need to bring up some form of competitiveness. I don't think that the coaches are being competitive enough. I think that they're coming out there and they're kind of going willy-nilly and kind of grabbing things out the green book from Waterboy, and instead of just going out there and doing the things that they know that their guys can do well. So we need to bring some competitiveness. I don't care how much guys are getting paid. I don't care how long they've been in the league. Get the guy that wants to compete in the game.
I like what Coach Philman has done. I really do, with the offensive line. I like how the coaches done with the receivers, and everybody else. You got a C+. You got to show me as a coaching staff that you can be consistent so these players can be consistent.
How much leeway do you guys have whenever it comes to this coaching staff in 2020 because of really everything that has been thrown their way?
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. I mean, like you said, there was abbreviated, training camp. There was no OTAs. There was no mini camps, anything like that. So, and they're bringing up a new scheme. But there's been teams out there. The New York Giants is one that the scheme, they had a new coaching staff in there, and they haven't made excuses like that. So for the Cowboys, I can't use that as an excuse.
I am # team no excuse.
There we go.
Right? All the coaches have the same resources. As a matter of fact, the Cowboys probably have more resources than any other team. There's no excuse for bad decisions. There's no excuse for not being able to communicate your scheme. There's no excuse for your team to not be able to communicate properly on the field. So I'm not going to lean on that side of things. Figure it out, fellas. I need you guys to finish strong.
There's no off season. 2 days after the season's over with, be on Zoom, talking to your players, talking to your coaches, talking to the owner, talking to the general manager. It's time to answer why this season was a disaster.
I think so as well. And really one of the big reasons was the injuries on every part of this squad. And really in the secondary recently, we've seen those injuries compound. Trayvon Diggs out. Now you have Anthony Brown, Donovan Wilson out. Barry, you've been in an NFL secondary.
Oh, yeah.
How hard is it in communication and adjustments whenever you don't have your normal guys around you?
Oh, it's extremely hard. And I've been a part of one of those secondaries where I was the only starter left out there. I mean, I was minus my corners. I was minus my safety. And when you're trying to communicate with guys that you're not normally doing that with, because on the practice, you're always with the ones. You're never with the twos. So when you got guys going in there, you just have to be extra with it. You got to make sure that everything, hand signals, yelling, everything like that is communicated throughout the secondary, because if not, that's how busted coverages happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know better than all of us up here right now, Barry, but, communication is something that you have to work at. And communication is not something that can just be forced upon by your coaching staff. There's plenty of time for guys to hop on the phone. There's plenty of guys to hop on Zoom calls, like Nate said. There's no excuse for failed communication. These guys have the resources. Do they want it?
I've been butt naked myself out there, Barry, by myself. That's not a pretty sight.
Say
But
that.
I tell you what, it's about working hard. It's too many things in this modern day world that will put you in a position to be successful. It comes down to you as the player and as coaches.
Well, I feel like the offensive line has done that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
mentioned Joe Philbin, and we're talking about the secondary here, but I do want to switch it to the offensive line. They saw an uptick from guys that hadn't necessarily played well all season long, but they played well last week against Baltimore in that front seven. Do you think they can replicate that today?
Oh, easily. Just continue to watch film, continue to listen to your coach, continue to execute. And your offensive coordinator, Kellum, man, hey, I'm on you. But these last 2 or 3 games, look, 3 out of 4 games, you have called a nice game, and they've tried to execute it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would argue that it's harder for offensive linemen to work together and be in chemistry and have some symmetry than it is for the secondary, right?
It is.
Simply because these guys are working together shoulder to shoulder trying to pass off things. So these guys have figured it out on the offensive line, and that's what makes you kind of turn to the coaches and be like, what is Coach Philbin doing that Coach Nolan is not?
Right.
You're right with what you said with Philbin. I mean, he's done an amazing job with this patchwork offensive line that we had. I mean, I was hard on them earlier in the year, but they seem to kind of gel together, and they seem to be the only bright spot so far with this offense. I mean, they kept Andy Dalton pretty much clean throughout the game in Baltimore last week, so I expect the same type of performance here in Cincinnati.
Hopefully they do get that, and then we'll go back out to Paul Brown Stadium, and Nick Eatman's got some more on that offensive line and exactly what he's watching for between the Bengals and the Cowboys. Nick?
Thanks again, Kyle. And Ezekiel Elliott's been a big focus this week. It's been a short week for the Cowboys. He was limited in practice. He's been out here working with the trainers on the field, getting on the cords. Looked like they're working through his calf injury, and he's going to be able to play in the game. But how much is the question? And so the guy that I'm really looking at today, not only Zeke, will be Tony Pollard. There's been, we'll see how many carries Pollard gets. Some games he gets 3 or 4, sometimes even 7 or 8. But in this game, with Zeke being limited on a short week, I would expect to see Pollard be out there a lot. He's been catching the ball out of the backfield as well from Andy Dalton. So, this Bengals rush defense is ranked near the bottom of the NFL. I would imagine to get a win here today for the Cowboys, they're going to need both Zeke and Tony Pollard to have a big day. All right, Kyle, back to you.
Philly day out there at Paul Brown Stadium. Thank you very much, Nick Eatman. And to add to his point about this Cincinnati defense, they've only allowed 2 100-yard rushers this season, but they've allowed 6 guys that have reached over 90 yards. So Zeke has an opportunity, along with Tony Pollard, to have a big game. Do you expect that to happen today, even though he's kind of dealing with a bit of an ailment?
I expect it. I expect Zeke to get back to his freaky ways. I mean, I expect us to have a plate full of food for that guy to go out there and eat. Look, we haven't seen much of it all season, but I think today's the day.
I would like to think that. Okay. I would like for him to be the guy, but I don't think Kellen Moore wants him to do that. To be honest with you, just call it how it is.
Still playing Madden?
I think Kellen Moore's still out there playing Madden and drawing up plays in the dirt. I think he wants to see Andy Dalton go out there and have a heck of a game, and I foresee Andy Dalton being the one that shows his butt today.
All right. That's all need to be said, man. Feed Zeke however way you need to do it, and then throw Tony a little dessert.
Yeah, a little bit there at the end, just to make sure that he's good to go. And I mean, Zeke, whenever it comes to the best game he had this season, the Cowboys won that game against Minnesota.
Yeah.
He'll try and replicate some of that success behind that offensive line in which we were talking about here a moment ago. Now, let's go to Oiko's 000 strong keys to the game. One of the favorite parts of the entire pregame show is we give our keys to win. And normally we let Nate go last, but I want to start with Nate first. I want to hear what you have to say.
Check this out real quick.
Real quick.
Bernard, what is his first name for Cincinnati?
Giovanni.
That is his first name. This kid is not a great runner when you hand him the ball, but he is dangerous when you throw him the ball. So if we as linebackers and as safeties can contain this guy with them 2 monsters on the outside, we have a chance. And if we can get Pollard coming out of the backfield, throwing to him, we can take this game. Okay. Victory guaranteed.
So keep the running backs at bay in the passing game and get yours going in the passing game. That's definitely what you're saying there. Okay, I like it, Mr. Stand
I'm
back.
going to keep mine simple.
All right.
Okay. Keep Andy Dalton upright. Keep it upright. The red rifle's going to come in and cock the arm. He's coming out there with the Iron Man cannon, and he's going to throw this ball all over the field. I'm going for 300 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns for his win against his old team. Red rifle, balls out, keep him upright. With Kellen Moore calling the plays the way he's been doing it, and with the chemistry that he's been building with these receivers, he's going to have a heck of a game.
Which receiver do you think has the chance to have the biggest game in this one?
CD Lamb.
Dog.
Why is that?
Lamb's going to ball out because Lamb is his, what do you say, night-night blanket.
Yeah,
right, it's his night-night blanket. So CeeDee Lamb and him, they had about 5 catches, I think, in the first, almost like the first couple series last week. Yeah, so those two are working well together. Kellen Moore's calling the game. You can see Andy Dalton last week get his swag back, throwing it to 8 different guys. He doesn't care who's out there catching the ball. He's comfortable with this system. He's going to be confident, and he's going to be poised to go out there and kick his old team's butt.
Ooh, I love it. Laying it thick.
Even though you're wearing opposing team colors.
I
didn't want to call you out on that one.
It's a bingo.
It looks good.
This is true.
This looks good, or you looks good.
Looks good. It does look good.
Thank you,
Well, I'm going to go with the opposite quarterback on the other hash. I'm going to say this defense, my key to the game, this defense has got to take advantage of Brandon Allen. Look, I was there with him down in Jacksonville, and no disrespect, but the guy has problems reading coverages. So if I'm the Dallas defense, we got to disguise our coverages out there. Try to take away that number 1 option, whether it be Boyd or A.J. Green. If you can do that, you can talk him into throwing you some picks, and we might actually get a dub today, fellas.
Come on, man.
How many picks did you have against Brandon Allen?
Oh, it's countless. I mean, it's just countless. I mean, it's effortless out there, you know.
That was on the practice,
it is
man.
what
That
it
was
is,
on the practice. Come on, man.
Had to ask that, but it's been a ton of fun here over the last 45 minutes. Want to thank you for joining us here on Cowboys Pregame Live. It's a noon kickoff between the Bengals and the Cowboys, the 13th all-time meeting. It's a chilly day out in Cincinnati. We'll see if the Cowboys can heat things up and get back on track. For everybody involved in our Cowboys Pregame Live crew, for Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, and Barry Church, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Enjoy the game, everybody. We'll see you afterwards here from Cowboys Pregame Live.
Let's go.
CD.